Okay, so in the world of DeFi, it feels like there's a new project popping up every single day, right? And they all have a great story. Well, today we're going to put one of those stories under the microscope. We're talking about Plasma and its token XPL. Let's see if the reality actually lives up to the hype.
So, look, the big question with any new project is always the same, isn't it? Is this thing for real? Is it a genuine game changer with a solid foundation, or is it just a really good story cooked up to get people to throw money at it? That's what we're going to dig into, separating the slick marketing from the cold, hard numbers.
All right, to really get what Plasma is all about, we got to step back and look at the bigger picture. The DeFi space is, it's a battleground. You've got tons of platforms, and they're all fighting for the same thing, to get you to lock up your money with them. And they do that by promising great rewards, stuff like yield and staking.
And that's the big problem for you, for me, for everyone, right? There are so many promises flying around. How on earth are you supposed to cut through all that noise and find a project that has real, lasting value? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do today, and we'll use Plasma as our guinea pig.
Okay, so let's zoom in on Plasma. What's their answer to this whole puzzle? What are they bringing to the table that's supposed to make them different from everyone else out there?
Well, have you listened to their story? Plasma wants to be the whole package, a complete ecosystem. Yeah, they've got the basics like staking and yield, which you see everywhere in DeFi, but they're also trying to add more, like gaming, community minting events, and liquidity farming. The idea is to give their token, XPL, a bunch of different uses and, keep people sticking around.
All right, staking is a huge piece of this. So let's do a super quick refresher. All it means is you lock up your tokens. Why? To help the network run smoothly and securely. And for doing that, for making that commitment, the protocol pays you rewards. It's a really fundamental part of how DeFi works.
And this is pretty much how it's supposed to work on Plasma. Step 1, you lock up your XPL. Step 2, the system uses it. Step 3, you get rewards. Sounds easy enough, right? But, and there's always a but, the devil is always in the details.
And that right there brings us to the most important part of this whole explainer. Look, just because a project sounds cool and looks simple on paper, that doesn't mean it's actually got the tech or the users to back it up. So, you know what? It's time to do a little digging.
Okay, let's do it. Let's put Plasma's promises to the test. We're going to take their story and we're going to stack it up against the actual data we can find out there. This is where the rubber meets the road.
So here's a classic line from their marketing playbook. They talk all about community growth, active participation, rewards for holders. It paints a picture of a busy, bustling ecosystem with tons of people getting involved, right?
Okay, that's the story. But do the numbers back it up? Let's pull back the curtain and take a look.
Well, here's the reality check. When you look at something as basic as 24-hour trading volume, the numbers are, well, they're low. And low volume is a really big deal. It tells you that despite the exciting story, not a lot of people are actually trading this token on a daily basis. For a project that claims to have a vibrant ecosystem, that's a potential red flag.
So let's just lay it all out side by side. On one hand, you have the promise of a vibrant, active community. On the other hand, you have the proof, low trading volume. And what does low volume mean? It usually means there's not enough liquidity in the market. And when that happens, the price can swing wildly up and down. See how the data just isn't lining up with the narrative here?
Okay, so this gap we're seeing between the story and the reality, that leads us right into talking about risk. Now, let's be clear. Every project in DeFi has risks, no exceptions. But it's super important to understand the specific risks that come with a project like Plasma, given its structure and where it is right now. So yeah, we need to go into this with our eyes wide open about the potential downsides. Let's break down the big ones you need to know about.
First up, you've always got smart contract risk. One little bug in the code could be catastrophic. We already talked about the low liquidity problem and how that can make the price go haywire. And remember those awesome staking rewards? They are not guaranteed. They can change or even disappear. Then there's what I'd call narrative dependency. This is a huge one. It's when the value of the token is being propped up more by hype and stories than by people actually using the thing. And finally, let's not forget, Plasma isn't alone. It's competing against absolute giants in the space, projects that are already established and have way more going on.
Now, hearing all that might sound pretty grim, but it doesn't automatically mean the project is dead in the water. What it does mean is that there's a very clear road ahead of them if they want to build something that lasts. So the question becomes, what would it actually take for a project like Plasma to become the real deal?
Well, for me, there are a few key things we'd have to see. First, real, sustained user adoption. I'm not talking about a quick pump and dump, but steady, consistent growth. We'd also need to see clear, public data that shows people are actually using the protocol. Then, they'd need to start playing nice with others, integrating with bigger, more established DeFi projects. And maybe, the biggest thing of all, they need to find a real use case, something that provides value beyond just chasing rewards.
And really, that brings us to the main takeaway. And this goes for any project you look at, not just Plasma. At the end of the day, the most important question isn't what's the promise, it's what's the proof. Anyone can spin a good yarn. The story is the easy part. It's the hard, verifiable data that really tells you what's going on. So always ask yourself, what does the proof actually say?